Hi guys, Darren Purchese here from Purchase Sweet Studio. Although I'm not there today, I'm in my own home. Just put up the Christmas tree. Crumbles helped me. I put out the Christmas decorations, and all I need now is you guys, because together we're going to make one of these awesome gingerbread houses. So in association with Federation Square, I'm really pleased to present to you a video tutorial of how to make a gingerbread house. And part one, we're going to be making the gingerbread house dough. We're going to roll it out. We're going to cut out the shapes. We're going to bake it. We're also going to make some royal icing. And then in part two, we'll make marshmallow and we're going to assemble the whole thing. So I'm excited for you to be here. Let's get baking. I guess the most important part of successful gingerbread house making is the gingerbread itself. So in front of me, I've got all of the ingredients that we're going to need to make the perfect, crispy, aromatic, golden brown gingerbread used to construct our house. Right, let's get started. Now the first thing is we're going to make our gingerbread spice. These are the spices you're going to need to make gingerbread spice. There's ground cinnamon, ground star anise, ground clove, ground cardamom, ground nutmeg, and ground ginger. Our spice mixture is actually a combination of lots of different delicious spices. We're going to add all of the spices into a bowl and mix them together. Now all the spices are in. Just going to give them a quick mix. It smells incredible. The recipe we need to make today is quite a large recipe, and it's probably not going to fit into a standard domestic electric stand mixer. This is the one I have here, and I know it's probably not going to be big enough for all of the gingerbread that we're going to need. So I've taken the recipe and I've split it in half, and I've weighed off all of the ingredients twice. So I've got flour, butter, sugar, the two spice mixes. I've got here some honey, some bicarb, and I've got some hot water on the stove. Now we're ready to make the dough. I'm going to make one recipe first, and then I'm going to repeat those steps and make the second dough. Our flour goes into our mixing bowl. The gingerbread spice is followed, and then caster sugar goes in. Next is butter. I'm going to add a pinch of salt. These are really fun. Just love Christmas decorations. Okay, next we're going to add the honey. So the honey's just going to go straight in here. I'm using Australian honey. Okay, now we're going to put the paddle down, turn the machine on slowly so we don't make a mess, and we're going to mix all of these ingredients together until they go to a sandy texture. That's mixed. All of the butter lumps have disappeared. I've got a really fine sandy texture. I've just placed a kettle onto the stove and I'm just boiling up some hot water. Now this has just been boiled, so it's super hot, and the bicarb is now frothing up. And this step is going to ensure your gingerbread stays really crunchy and really crispy. So I'm just going to mix this up here. Be super careful, it is hot. Add that to the dough and then finish mixing. Okay, our dough's been rested for about half an hour now, so really exciting. It's time to roll out. Now, you've got two pieces of dough because we split the recipe in half, we made two doughs. This is going to give you enough gingerbread to construct the entire house. You will actually have to cut this one into about 3 pieces. Now we're going to need to get 6 panels of gingerbread, around about A4 size, 2 roofs. We've got a base, we've got a rear of the house, and we've also got a front of a house, and we've got 2 house sides. So we're going to need to roll 1 A4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of gingerbread around about A4 size. And to do that, I've cut out some baking parchment or baking paper. I'm just going to lightly dust some flour onto the paper and then on top of the dough. We'll take a rolling pin. I'm just going to gently press and roll and try and keep a rectangle shape. Now the thickness of our gingerbread, we're looking at just under 1/2 centimetre for the panels for the house. Some of the decorations or ornaments we're going to use to make our house look absolutely festive and amazing. We're going to roll those slightly thinner. Awesome, that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do now is just trim nice and square. And this is now almost ready to cut out panels. What I'm going to do is roll out all 6 of my pieces of gingerbread, and then I'm going to put them back in the fridge just to cool down, so that way I can cut them nice and sharp. We're going to leave that to chill down probably for about 20 minutes just to make sure that it's nice and cool and it's not going to go out of shape when we cut our panels out. My gingerbread has been in the fridge for about half an hour, so it's nice and cool. I've cut cardboard, thin cardboard, to the same shape as my template. And then I will lift my first sheet of rolled out gingerbread and I'll put that onto the board. So I'm just going to chop down to get that edge. Any fine work, I'm going to use a small knife. This is really great for cutting out windows, but most of the work is going to be done with this large chopping knife here. Any trim, we're going to cut out shapes, and that one's done. Now I'm just going to lift it off gently, put it onto this tray, and then I'm going to put that back in the fridge, and I'm going to repeat cutting out the rest of my panels. Great, okay. I've cut all of my panels, so I've cut 2 ends of the house, 2 sides, 2 roofs, and 1 base. So they're my major pieces for the house. So this now is just going to go in the fridge. I want to keep it cool again before we cut out any windows or any cavities. And with the remaining, I'm going to re-roll that, but I'm going to roll it a little bit thinner. And these are going to be all of the gingerbread men and ornaments and decorations that we're going to put all over this house to make it look super festive, super Christmassy. I've already preheated an oven to 180 degrees. You want them nice and golden brown and crunchy. If you bring your gingerbread out, panels or ornaments, and they feel a little bit soft, especially when they're cooled down, then put them back into a low oven and kind of dry them out, because you want your house and your ornaments to be super crispy. Otherwise, it may collapse, especially in this Australian heat. So with the re-roll paste now, I'm going to take my really cool Christmas cutters, which I bust out every single year, and I'm just going to cut a load of different shapes, and then we'll start to bake them. This is so much fun. So I'm just cutting out tons of shapes and I'm baking them at the same time. So probably like you, I've only got 1 or 2 oven trays and a very small oven at home. So I'm just cutting them out and putting them on the tray, and I'm baking them as I go. Any other that I have left over, I'm putting onto this tray, and I'll put these in the fridge and I'll just bake them as and when I have a free oven or free trays. Okay, so I'm cutting and I'm baking my gingerbread shapes right now. I'm also making sure that they're cooked really well. So these ones I've just cooked here, they've taken me about 10 to 12 minutes in my oven to bake. What you want to do is make sure they're super crispy, super crunchy. Perfect. Okay, I've almost finished baking all of my gingerbread shapes. It smells absolutely amazing in here. I really love it. I just love Christmas baking. Fills the whole house with a beautiful aroma. Also very therapeutic as well. Right, cracking on. We're going to start cooking the large panels. So the 2 sides of the house, the 2 ends of the house, also the 2 roofs and the base. So these are larger pieces and they're slightly thicker, so they're going to take a little bit longer to cook in your oven. If you're going to take any cavities out of your house, then now's the time to do it. And just before we start cutting, you want to make sure that your gingerbread is on your board, a little bit of flour underneath. And we're going to take the template and I'm just going to place it over the top just to make sure it's the right shape and it hasn't sort of misshapen at all or moved in any way. That looks pretty much spot on. Okay, now I'm just going to cut a door from the front. I'll just use the small knife just to tease that door out there. I'll lay that on my baking tray, and now I'm ready to cut a window here. You could cut a traditional square window shape, or you could use a cutter and do something festive. And you could use Christmas trees. So cut out cavities on your house wherever you want. Just remember, don't cut too many out or it may become unstable. And then we're going to bake this, and this is probably going to take a couple of minutes longer than some of these thinner pieces here. Oh wow, this place smells incredible. There's gingerbread all over the place. This is absolutely amazing. I love it. I love this time of year. I love the smells of Christmas baking, and hopefully your family will too. All of my panels are nearly baked. I've got one more left in the oven. So that was a whole day of baking and rolling and cutting gingerbread. So now it's time for the creative part, the really, really fun part. So we're gonna make a royal icing. We're gonna use it to decorate our ornaments, and we're also gonna use it to put design on the side panels and on the front of the house to make it look so Christmassy. Really. 2 ingredients only. We've got some icing sugar, but first of all we're going to add some egg white into our mixing bowl, and we're going to start to turn it on while I add probably 3/4 of that sugar. Okay, I'm just going to turn it up before adding the rest of the sugar. Okay, looks pretty good to me. It's super smooth, it's shiny. That's royal icing. If you think it needs a little bit more egg white because it's a bit stiff, add a little bit more. If you think it needs a bit more sugar, go the other way. So I'm going to transfer some of that into a piping bag. I'm going to lay a damp tea towel just over the top of the bowl, and that's going to prevent the sugar from getting a crust. Now it's time to decorate our shapes. So this is just where you get creative. Do whatever makes you happy. If you want to do squiggles, do squiggles. If you want to do dots, do dots. It's entirely up to you. Whatever makes you happy, get everyone in the whole family involved in this as well, and then everyone can say they had a part of making this house. So much fun. I love this. This is really cool. Okay, I'm going to keep my house pretty traditional. I'm going to keep it white royal icing. I've got white marshmallow to go on top as well. So mine's a traditional looking house, but you just literally go nuts. If you want to colour your royal icing, you can do that. Later on when we make marshmallow, if you want to colour your marshmallow as well, you can do that. You can use food colours, water-based food colours, or you could use freeze-dried fruit powders to give any sort of shade that you want to make your house look really festive. Okay, just going to leave these to set now. That royal icing is going to set super hard. All we've got to do now is assemble. I cannot wait. I'm going to slip into something more festive, and when I get back, we're going to make marshmallow and we're going to assemble our house. Hey, welcome back to part 2. Got my Christmas sweater on, so feeling really festive. Can't wait to assemble this gingerbread house. I know Crumble wants to give me a hand, so first job, I'm going to make marshmallow. Okay, I'm so excited. Now all we need to do is make marshmallow, and that's going to help stick all of these panels together and also give it a really awesome sweet snow effect. So let's have a look at the ingredients we're going to need to make this marshmallow. To get started, we're going to take our gelatine leaves, and I'm just going to put each gelatine leaf into this bowl. So it's ice cold water, and what we're going to do is we're just going to soak these gelatine leaves until they get really soft. Probably going to take about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to drain off the water and reserve the softened leaves. Egg white, we're going to put that into our mixing bowl. I'm using an electric stand mixer. You could use a hand beater, or you could do it by hand if you want a bit of a workout. I've got some water here. I'm going to put this into the saucepan, and then I'm going to add my dextrose and my sugar. Just while that's coming to the boil, our gelatine has soaked. So if you look at that, it's gone nice and soft. Just drain out any excess water. And we're just going to put the gelatine in a small little bowl and leave it by our mixing machine. Okay, our syrup has come to the boil. Now it's time to add our liquid glucose. We're going to turn our mixing machine on right now, and we're going to cook the syrup to 140 degrees. Okay, we're continuing to cook our syrup. Now once the syrup reaches 125 degrees, we're going to turn our egg whites up to a medium speed. Okay, we're almost there. We're on 135 degrees. So as soon as we hit 140, we're going to add the syrup into the egg white. Now be very careful. Syrup is super hot. So keep an eye on what you're doing at all times, especially if you're doing this with the kids. Just be really careful. Try and pour the syrup to the side so it doesn't hit the whisk. Now this pan's super hot still. So what we're going to do is take our gelatine, and we're going to put it into the pan, and we're going to let the residual heat of the pan melt that gelatine. Now I'm going to add some vanilla paste, so I'm just going to add that to my marshmallow here. It's just going to give such a beautiful flavour. What we're going to do now is continue to whisk. As we whisk, the mixture is going to cool down. As it cools down, the gelatine is going to set, and also we're going to incorporate air into this, and we're going to have a super light, fluffy marshmallow. Okay, perfect. So the marshmallow is now thickened up. That's because it's cooled down and whisked at the same time. So it's nice and thick. There's still a little bit of heat in there, because we don't want to cool this down completely because it will set. Awesome. I've got the marshmallow ready. It's in a piping bag. I've got some leftover marshmallow from the bowl, and I've just put it into a very warm oven, so literally 50 degrees, just so the marshmallow doesn't set and I can use more later. I've also got all my royal icing pieces ready to go, and I've melted some milk chocolate. It's on the back of the stove, and I'm going to use that to brush on some of those discs. I've also made another small recipe of royal icing, so crumble, if you can keep an eye on that, make sure it doesn't get a crust. That would be amazing. We're ready to go. Pastry brush, and I'm just going to generously brush chocolate onto the flat side of the base. Brush milk chocolate all over. Brilliant. And I'm going to move these guys over. You look after these, crumble. Thank you. They're the two roofs. We've got the base here. I've got a tray here. That's what I'm going to build my house on. I'm going to pipe some marshmallow. Just a few blobs to stick this down. And then we're good to go. Okay, next I'm going to grab the very front of the house here. So that's the piece that's got the door cavity. And that's pretty much where it needs to go. I'm going to push it down here and stick it down with marshmallow until it sets. I'm just going to pipe a little bit of marshmallow here. The front of my house. Now it's starting to stick to the still wet chocolate on the base. And then I'm going to grab a side and I'm going to stick it and kind of just balance the two. Next I'm going to pipe some more marshmallow inside just to make sure that's really well stuck. I'll just pipe some up the edges there. And that marshmallow is going to set. You could use royal icing as well. I do have some ready here for any small work or any touch-ups or any additional decoration at the end. But at the moment I'm just going to use the marshmallow, plus I've already got the melted chocolate here, which is helping to keep these standing up. Next I'm going to assemble the rest of the panels by doing the back end first and then the other side, and then I'll start on the roof. I've got some royal icing here as well, and I'm just going to fill in, if you see any gaps or holes, I'm going to fill in with a little bit of royal icing and just make sure that that stays still. That's nice royal icing, crumble, thanks mate. He's a good reindeer. And remember, any white that comes spilling out, it's going to look like snow, so it's going to look awesome anyway, so don't worry about it. Okay, now comes a little bit of a tricky part. It's probably the hardest part of construction. It's getting these roof pieces on without them falling off. They're quite heavy, so obviously they're going to want to slide off. But I found a neat little trick. This is the cardboard stencil, and I'm just going to lay it inside our house here, and it fits just right. I'm just going to pipe icing on the side of the house here. This is going to help stick those panels. And this piece of cardboard is going to hold the roof panel up until it's set, and then I can just pull the cardboard out. So it's a pretty neat little trick. And I'm just going to stick it onto the royal icing, and I'm using this cardboard piece here to hold the roof in place. I can even take my hand away if I'm holding it on the other end. So then I have a free hand to just sort of pipe some royal icing just to make sure it's completely stuck. And this royal icing will set hard, so your roof will be totally safe, but you're just going to need to wait a few minutes for it to stick before we attempt to put the other roof on. Okay, so that's feeling pretty safe. I'm still going to leave the cardboard in there. I've got another piece of cardboard, another piece of the stencil that I used, or the template. I'm just going to lay that one inside here. Going to pipe some royal icing. Use as glue along the sides of the house. And a little bit up the top there. If you make a mess, it doesn't matter. Looks like snow. The second roof smells absolutely incredible. The milk chocolate on top. I'm just gonna stick it in there. Awesome. I'm just gonna hold this for a little bit. And like I say, any gaps that you see, we can plug those. We've got marshmallow, we've got royal icing. If you've got any sprinkles or lollies, you can put those on top. All right, I'm just going to leave that. Crumble, can you hold that for a sec? Thanks, mate. I'll start flooding any gaps that I can see with marshmallow and royal icing. Okay, I've just pulled the cardboard out, and as I did it, I inserted one of my chef knives just underneath the roof there, and the point's just coming out here, and that's just holding the roof up. So I know that's really safe. Once the royal icing is set, that's going to be no worries, and I can just pull that knife out really easily. Right now, I'm going to use up all the leftover marshmallow that I have and all of the royal icing to flood this tray. Just go nuts. Put loads of snow on it, stick some of my decorated pieces on top, bring it on home. What was that, Crumble? What? Enough? He's saying it's enough. He's saying step away from the gingerbread house, Daz. Okay, there we have it. This is our gingerbread house. Now I'm just going to take that knife out. Hopefully the whole thing won't collapse. There we go. Any leftover gingerbread pieces like this you can't fit on, find your favourite cookie jar and just store them in there for snacking later on with a cup of tea. My gingerbread house, from my house to yours. I really hope you have a fantastic Christmas. I really hope you make this recipe. Have a very, very Merry Christmas from myself and the whole team at Federation Square. Have a great 2021. Stay safe. Have a fantastic summer.